So, as a conversation pieces come up, at least with family members, ones that I typically have little spits and spats with, but the idea that I've abandoned my kids or I don't do, anything to help them. So this isn't true. I love my kids. In fact, my daughter was just here in the Philippines with me for 6 months, and she just recently went home like 2 months ago, and we had a blast. Last year, I took them all to Universal Studios. We had a blast. We spent a week out in Hollywood Hills, rented a little mansion, spent a couple days at Universal, and went on an adventure. But I am not stable because my body is so injured. And so when I've been working, I've had multiple injuries. Hi, sir. Good morning. And even last year, I'm retired, but even last year, even despite being tired, I have, big bills. And in order to stay in the U.S., it takes me to work extra shifts and, make extra money. And while working, I cut my finger off at work. This is on top of the 74 fractures my body has had, on top of all the titanium in my legs and my fiber wire that holds my arm together, from a work-related accident. So I constantly work. When I got in my accident, I was actually working 96-hour weeks for Talist Incorporated and running two businesses on the side. So I wasn't lazy. I just, ended up in a car accident that put me in a situation where my body wasn't able to work. And then once my body healed, I started working again, but I wasn't fully healed, and I cut my finger off at work. And now, I'm here in the Philippines where I can actually survive and, financially survive here and live a pretty decent life. But I can't in the U.S. It's just impossible financially for me to live there right now with my body in the condition that it's in. So I've gotten back to program development, and I've made 5 WordPress plugins and 2 Windows executables that are both SEO based and radio based, streaming radio automation. And then I've made a couple of Chrome extensions, and I'm building up an inventory of services and programs and applications. Oh, and also 3 Android apps that are companions to those. But anyway, I'm building up a whole, catalog here that I can sell and service, so that I can at least, survive in the U.S. when I go back. I don't want to go back to my kids where I'm homeless, which was the case in 2023. I mean, I wasn't homeless, but I was near homeless. I was living in an RV, and they're just, that was a home that I bought from their mother. Their mother had them living in with 8 people, and even with just 3 of us in there, I just felt uncomfortable, and I felt like it was a degraded situation I didn't want to put them through. And so I left and, tried to get a business established in Ireland, which failed, and be there for my other daughter in Ireland. But because of the mother there, who's she's going through something mentally. And anyway, it's just fact of the matter with the women in my life. It just seems to be commonplace. But anyway, I couldn't make that work, so I ended up back here. I ended up in the Philippines after trying to make it work in the West, where it's too expensive for me. But, thank God for my retirement. I worked endless hours, and I ended up with a good, decent retirement from Social Security Disability that pays my kids, pays Kim, my ex, $1,000 a month to take care of my kids. And I think it's $998 is what she gets anyway. And then I, pay for Christmas and birthday presents. I just bought my son like $300 worth of birthday presents on top of the money they get from, Social Security. I bought, tons of Christmas presents. I spent $700 on Christmas. I mean, this is with me, making $2,000 a month, less than $2,000 a month. I get something like $1,800 a month. But my, rent in the U.S., if I was to be near my kids, would be well over $1,800 a month. just for a house that could fit us all. For like a 2-bedroom house, I'll be paying more than $1,800 a month, and then I would have no money for food or bills or utilities or a car or insurance or anything like that. So I have to stay here until I've built my programming business up again, which used to be very successful. I had 151 clients paying me monthly to host their websites and to build websites for them and whatnot. So I was very lucky. I was blessed. I guess it was hard work. It wasn't luck, but I was blessed to be able to have had all those clients that we serviced until I had a job doing robotics engineering for Talos Incorporated, doing tech support for automated pharmacies, and then I sold that business. So now I'm just building it back up again. I'm developing programs. I'm developing applications and extensions and just a whole programming catalog, and making that available at spunwebtechnology.com. But I haven't in any way abandoned my kids. My family member, the alcoholic family member that I sometimes get a message from here and there, or somebody else tells me what this kid has said. He's a kid to me. He's 40 years old and he lives with his mother. So to me, that's kind of childish. So I call him a kid, but he's actually 40 years old. But he'll, constantly claim that I've abandoned my kids, I'm neglecting my kids. I constantly do whatever I can for my kids. I used to share my kids. We used to have them, shared 6 months with me, 6 months with their mother. But their mother had for years tried to turn them against me. Now, this is what she said before we got divorced. She said, if you divorce me, I'll turn them against you. I have it recorded on my dash cam of her saying that. And then when I got back from Ireland, trying to get us all moved over there, that was her idea. She actually proposed marriage to a kid that turned her down, and so she told me to ask his sister, and then she accepted, and that's why I ended up over in Ireland, is because my ex-wife wanted to move there. So she set this whole thing up. I went over there, and then while I'm over there with this woman that I'm supposed to marry, she freaks out, gets pissed off, and finds a ladyboy to marry, and now she's married to a transvestite. And, systematically over the last 5 years, when I got home from Ireland, that is, continue that story, is that when I got home from Ireland, the kids all tell me, and this is on dash cam as well, this is also, a therapy session we had that was, caught on what was that? Zoom. Oh yeah, it was recorded on Zoom. So these two things were said by my kids, all three of them. All three of the youngest, the ones that were, still minors, that were with me in Hawaii when I got back, all said, well, it seems like mom wants us to choose sides. It seemed like mom is always saying toxic things about dad. She's always trying to turn us against him. This is what they said. This is what they said immediately, the first hour that I was home from Ireland after that return, in 2021, right after the divorce. And then it was said in May, just 2 months later, to the therapist, by all three of them, saying that their mother is, really trying to turn them against me. So systematically over the last 5 years, she has feminized my son. She has, always had these gender issues, but now she's pushed them on my kids. Now my second oldest daughter is changing her gender. She's, at least taking hormones and talking about having a mastectomy, cutting her breast off, and my oldest daughter is on this page. And this was, because my ex-wife surrounded herself by trannies and lesbians and whatnot. Her friend Joey confessed to me before we even divorced that she said, if your wife wasn't married to you, I would want to have a relationship with her. She didn't put it in those terms. She said it very crass, in a way that I wouldn't want to say on this video, but having to do with, sexual romance with my ex-wife. And, she's like, I feel like I'm more lesbian than I've ever been. Now, this woman was married to a man, but bisexual, and all of her kids were trannies. She'd transed her kids out and pushed this agenda on her kids, something that my ex-wife imitated with my kids. And because I've never been into it, like I've been a staunch supporter of everybody having marriage rights. I've been, helping advocate for the rights and dignity of gay people. But it's the tranny thing I don't do because it's just not logical. It's destructive. It's harmful, and it's not biologically true. It's not. You're not born in the wrong body. They're teaching lesbian girls that the reason why you're lesbian is because you were born in the wrong body. You're actually a boy. So, or whatever. You can't just be lesbian anymore. You can't just be gay. If you're lesbian or you're gay, they're trying to make it sound as if though you're actually born in the wrong body. This is the premise of the left now, of the extreme left especially. But so now, because I don't agree with that, I don't agree with men and women's sports, I don't agree with men and women's bathrooms, I don't agree, that kids should have access to transgender care, maybe gender dysphoria, maybe mental health care, but not hormones or surgeries. They're letting 14-year-olds get hormones to change their body. They're getting puberty blockers, which is castration medicine for boys, and giving that to them so that it stops their puberty or whatever. And they're doing that without even parental consent. I don't agree with transgender books in the schools and elementary schools so much, and drag queen story hour. I don't agree. So I don't agree with a lot of these things. And my ex-wife has proposed this. Probably her ladyboy husband has said this. I don't know, but him and I had a little disagreement last year. But they're saying that because I don't agree with these things, that it's a direct attack or insult on my children, which it obviously isn't, because before they were born I felt this way. I mean, I have 8 videos on my YouTube channels from before 2013. So from 2006 to 2013, there's 8 videos on my channel. And before gay marriage was legal anywhere, like in California, when the Mormons were trying to reverse their gay marriage decision with Proposition 8, I was advocating against what the Mormons were doing, against changing the laws and reversing it. I was advocating for the rights and dignity of gay people. But I never agreed with the trans issue because it's destructive. It's obviously coming from other issues. It's not just that these people were literally born in the wrong body. It's that they're having mental health issues. They're having a lot of the trans issues and the gender dysphoria issues, at least from my research, shows that these people are dealing with bipolar, schizophrenia, and other mental health issues. They're not dealing with being in the wrong body. So they're not treating it correctly. They're not treating the schizophrenia, the bipolar, the BPD, the whatever. They're going straight for, if you change your gender, you're going to be all right. There's a reason why, before and after surgery, before and after affirmation, the transgender community has a very high suicide rate, and that's because it's not being treated. It's not properly being treated. They're being treated incorrectly, in my opinion, and that's why the suicide rates do not go down after transition. In fact, a lot of studies show they go up. So I just feel like I don't agree with it. I think protecting my kids is more important than affirming them, than saying, oh yeah, you're right, you were born in the wrong body, I'll support you. No, that's not how it is. It's not really the truth. That's not how it is. So I don't agree with it, and I don't support it. And I'm glad that what's happening now with the Trump administration, that they're changing funding for hospitals and insurance that covers this transgender care. For like Medicaid and such, they're not funding that now for transgender care. That is a huge step of progress, in my opinion. They're not allowing that in the schools now. They're defunding schools that get public assistance, that get public funds, if they allow men and women's sports and things like that. And so I think we've made a lot of progress, and I am hopefully, I'm almost about to get a settlement from MT Gox, Mountain Gox. They're supposed to give that this October. Now, I haven't had any recent updates. It's been about 2 months since Mountain Gox has sent me any updates about this settlement, but I'm supposed to go to Japan, go to Tokyo to the bankruptcy law office, to the trustee's law office, and give them my passport, my identification, and prove who I am so that I can get the settlement, which will then allow me to fund my business, which I've been building, spunwebtechnology.com, with this catalog of programs that I'm building. And then I can, have an income, I can have a home, hopefully all this works out. And I don't know how much the actual settlement is. It's either 9 yen or 9 Bitcoin. The number seems to be 9. So if it's 9 Bitcoin, it's around $1 million, with capital gains tax. I'll probably get 700,000 out of that, maybe less, maybe 600,000. If it's 9 Bitcoins. If it's 9 yen, it's like $1. So who knows? But either way, I am building this business. I am intending to go back, and I do love my kids. I just can't possibly work right now. I hurt myself. I nearly kill myself every time I go to work. So.